Hi everyone, this is Low Fiber Girl here, and today I would like to just give you a brief update on my low fiber diet that is predominantly dairy and chocolate, and just wanted to talk about some aspects of this. So I am still doing the moderate high fat dairy, which is the half and half, and still doing a little bit of that spray can whipped cream, although I changed from the sugar-free one to just the one that has sugar in it. So I'm on like original, basically. It's like what they call, there's like different categories. There's extra creamy or original. I'm doing the original, and the best value would be to get the Walmart brand. That's the cheapest one. Second runner-up would be the Kroger brand. And then finally, the more expensive would be Reddi-wip. But anyways, today I wanted to talk about why half and half is the ideal form of milk for humans who want to consume cow's milk. And the reason is that half and half mimics human mother's milk the most appropriately from all the other milks, and that is because of the ratio between fat to protein. And in human mother's milk, the ratio is between 3-1 to 4-1. 3 times the fat over the protein, up to 4 times the fat over the protein. And so that is kind of the same, that is the same ratio as half and half, which I'm going to show to you. So I'm going to break this down for you. I've got a few pictures to show you that will help demonstrate what I'm trying to say. So if you look at the first one here, we have human mother's milk. And if you look at those little pie things at the top, the first one on the left is showing the colostrum. And in that one, it's almost equal amounts of fat to lactose to protein. And in the mature milk, you'll see that lactose takes up half of the space, followed by fat being the next one, and then protein being the most minor macronutrient. And so you can see that the human species is predominantly a carbohydrate eater, followed by fat. Carbs, then fat. Protein's the lowest. And a newborn baby needs basically a lot of carbs to fuel the growing, developing brain. And that is why it's full of lactose, whereas cow's milk needs to develop the cow's muscles and body development quicker, so that requires more protein. So that is the difference there. So we're going to take a look at the next one. All right, so this one here is showing the comparison between human cow and goat milk. Now the calories, human milk has the most calories so this is per 8 ounces, so this is per 1 cup of milk. Humans have the most calories. Next would be goat milk, and then cow milk is lower in calories. But look at the protein, only 2.5 grams. And look at the goat milk is the most incompatible, 8.7 grams. So much protein in goat milk, 7.9 in cow milk. Fat is about equal in both the goat milk and the human milk, and the cow milk is a little too low in fat, which is why I say half and half, because they add the cream to the milk, and that lowers the protein and all that other stuff. And then if you look at the carbs, humans have the most carbs, 17 grams, and the goats have the least carbs. So, going to the next slide here, this shows you more than just the macronutrients. It also shows you a bit of the folate, iron, and vitamins, so sodium. So again, calorie content is down at the bottom, so it's the same, showing the same. If you look at the protein content, again, that's showing the same ratio. Then carbohydrates, it's the 17 for human, 11 for the goats, and 10 for the cows. Sodium, and look at how much more sodium is in cow's milk and goat's milk compared to human milk. We don't need very much salt. That's why they always say, like, too much salt, it raises your blood pressure, does all these negative things when you eat too much salt. Well, that's, again, why half and half proves to be the winner, and I'll show you about the sodium content in half and half. Now here is the nutrients label for half and half, and so you can see this matches the human milk. 3 grams of fat to 1 gram of carbohydrate and protein less than 1 gram. Each half and half label varies slightly. Some of them will say 3.5 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. Some will say 3 grams of fat to 1 gram protein. And look at the sodium, 25. And remember, the human milk, the sodium was like 30. So it's very similar. So calcium, 30. That's also similar. Here's another half and half label. 3 grams of fat to 1 gram protein. Carbs is 1. So the thing is, the carbs is too low. So what you can do is you can take half and half and add a little sugar to it. And there you have it, the perfect macronutrients. And this is why in my diet I'm okay with eating a little bit of sucrose. It gives me a little added carbohydrates. I don't like going full on keto, like total, where it's like 0 carbs. So I like to have a little bit of sucrose. Okay, this is what I wanted to read to you. Just this description was so well said. It says, human mother's milk contains significantly more carbohydrates, but much less protein than cow's milk. While the total fat content remains relatively similar, these differences reflect the distinct evolutionary needs of a slow-growing human infant versus a rapidly growing calf. And if you think about it, so human adults, we're not rapidly growing anymore because we've reached our full height for our lifetime. So why would we need that rapid growth of all that protein? And we still have the big brain that we need to fuel. And so here's the main differences. And it talks about how main structural difference. Human milk is rich in lactose and unique prebiotic oligosaccharides. Oh, that's what the HMOs are on the first slide that I showed you. Oligosaccharides, the unique prebiotics, is in the human milk. And so that's a part of the carbohydrates. So again, much more carbs in the human's milk than the cow's milk. And then it says cow's milk has over 3 times the protein. Human milk features a highly digestible whey to casein ratio. The total fat volume is similar, but human milk contains higher levels of essential long-chain polyunsaturated fats. And the caloric densities are closely matched, though individual human samples vary by feed stage. And here it says, on the lactose supply, human milk provides high levels of lactose, which is crucial for fueling human brain development and assisting with calcium absorption. The oligosaccharides, the HMOs, human milk contains complex, non-digestible carbohydrates called human milk oligosaccharides. These do not feed the baby directly. Instead, they feed beneficial gut bacteria to build the infant's immune system. Cow's milk contains only trace amounts of these structures. And here's where the interesting thing about the protein is the growth rate versus digestibility. The whey to casein ratio is very important. So human milk has a 60 to 40 whey to casein ratio, whereas cow's milk is 20 to 80 whey to casein. And because casein forms tough curds in the stomach, the high casein content in cow's milk makes it difficult for human infants' delicate digestive system to process. And see, and for me, I have such a hard time with cheese that's predominantly casein based. And my favorite cheese is American cheese. And the funny thing is, they actually add whey protein, concentrate, and whey to the American cheese. So it increases the whey ratio. And it just feels way more digestible to me than for example, than for cottage cheese, which is really a heavy casein-based cheese. Specific proteins. Human milk is rich in immune-boosting proteins like alpha-lactalbumin, lactoferrin, and IgA antibodies. Cow's milk contains lactoglobulin, a common allergen for human infants. So that may be one of the specific proteins that cause some of the allergies. Now, I do not have a dairy allergy, so I do not have a dairy protein allergy. I found this out. I actually went to an allergenist and found out that. And so I am just sensitive to lactose. And that's why I stay with the higher fat dairy, because it gives my stomach a break, a rest from all that high lactose, low fat milk. It really does a number on my stomach. It's just awful for me. So my overall summary here is just that I know that cow's milk is not ideal because it's not, humans' mother's milk, but it provides us with a ton of nutrients that are good for us. But I feel like to get the best ratio that's most compatible for our systems, we do have delicate digestive systems. I don't think we're meant to tolerate heavy amounts of casein protein. I think that really actually is kind of harmful. So I say just stick with the higher fat milk than the lower fat milk, like basically half and half, or even heavy cream or whipped cream or cream cheese, sour cream, anything that's more cream based, because I think the real benefit of dairy is actually in its cream and its a combination. It's a combination of like a little bit of its protein, like whey protein and stuff, and then a little bit of its carbohydrate, but not too much, because the lactose is hard for us adults to digest. So really, it's the cream that's most compatible, and that nourishes our brains and helps to keep us. It does help with like hormone balance and things like that. It's good for us. So I do think that a higher fat dairy is most suitable. So that is my talk for today. And yes, like I said, I'm still doing half and half and whipped cream and a little bit of chocolate. And I do not mind a little bit of sugar in my diet. in the form of simple sugars like sucrose. And that is like why I switched to just the regular whipped cream that has a little bit of sugar in it. And with sugar-free stuff, I tend to get hypoglycemic. So I try to stay away from like the sucralose, artificial sweeteners and stuff like that, just because it does do that to me. It lowers my blood sugar like too much. All right, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write down below, and hope you all have a great day.